Hey, my amigos. Today I wanted to talk about an incident that I just heard about. It seems like it just hit the news, and it was about a 13-year-old child on the autism spectrum who was shot in Utah. He's in the hospital right now recovering. He was having just some overt behavior, and his mother found it a little bit overwhelming and felt like she couldn't deal with it. So she did call the police to come in and help. Her son was very stressed out that she was going to leave and be going back to work. She hadn't been to work in about a year, and this young man had a behavioral outburst. Mom called the police to get some help. She told them, that he wasn't violent. He really didn't have, he didn't have a weapon. He was just having an emotional outburst, and she needed some help calming him down. And then within, a matter before the incident ended, the child was shot several times. So I just heard this story, and it's very tragic, but it's something I think we really need to talk about as parents of people with disabilities. So according to the mother called the police looking for help in de-escalating her 13-year-old son. She did report that he didn't have a weapon, he didn't have anything, he was just yelling and very upset. She was hoping that they would come and help de-escalate the situation. Within a matter of 5 minutes of them bursting into the home, they were shouting at him to lie on the floor, and quickly after that, a couple shots were fired. So, that is just so scary and so horrific. And I think there's a lot of things at play here. Like, first of all, this is a 13-year-old child. The mom did report that he was small, but just, to use that kind of force on a 13-year-old seems excessive. But just given all the information that they had, it seems like this was probably, some excessive force, and they probably just could have, tackled the guy. At Little Star, and just most people who are in the autism field, we do get training on de-escalating situation, and it never involves yelling. Of course, that just, amps everybody up when you start raising your voice. So I think this, is also like a good question we need to ask ourselves, like, are police officers and first responders getting enough training in people with autism? Because we all know that people with autism are getting older and older and older, and they're going to be experiencing a lot more adults with autism. I know in the state of Indiana, our first responders have to get annual training on autism, and that's fire, police, and paramedics. I wonder if that's happening in all states. If not, it really should be happening. I think that's something that we as parents need to start talking to our state representatives about. Another thing, myself, I have a 29-year-old son who's very big. He is 250 pounds. He's not the biggest person that goes to Little Star. We have another young man who goes to Little Star who is 6'5", and these boys are big, and they're both, gentle giants. But I really fear if my son, were to get pulled over by the police, and we've really tried to train him the best we can, or the best we've been able to, just of how to talk to a police officer. And so for my son, we've really tried to teach him how to self-advocate and just say, like, I have autism, right away. Let somebody know, I have autism, I'm a little bit slower. Can you say that a little bit more slowly? I worry about the kids that don't have good verbal skills, and again, people might think that there's some kind of drug use, or that there's some kind of physical threat. And when I think about this young man's mother, it really is just so sad and tragic that she was reaching out for help because her child has a disability, and she needed help to help keep him safe. And she made a decision, and she made a phone call that absolutely backfired. He really could have been killed. And so I feel so bad for her. My heart goes out to her just because just thinking the guilt that she must have right now, just the fear that her son has of police officers right now, but just that there wasn't anybody she could call to come out and help her. And you know, I think we always think the first people to call that are going to help us and keep us safe are the police. And then to have something tragic like, you know, this happens, it's just sad and scary. And we've got to do something. We have to make sure that our first responders are really able to handle these situations. And we got to make sure the funding's there and the training's there. And, you know, the retraining is there. We've got to put the police in a situation to be successful at this. And we've got to, you know, make it a priority. And we have to let parents know that, you know, this is a safe thing to do if they do need help. At this point, it seems like it is kind of scary, or it would be kind of scary to, you know, call the police. And I know a lot of families would never call the police because they would be worried of their, you know, child getting arrested and actually brought down, you know, to the jail cell. And I mean, I just think about like my son going into jail, he would be a sitting duck. He would be the easiest targeted victim from other people in a jail cell. And that can keep me awake at night if I think about that. And knowing that there are a lot of people with autism or mental illness that are being arrested and being put into general population jail cells, holding cells, while they're waiting to appear in front of a judge. So while Brad has a fear of the police, you know, it also is a fear of mine that if there were some kind of encounter, you know, would he be with an officer who could identify that clearly there's a disability here, even though he is a really big person, that he's, you know, he's not threatening, he's just a person with a disability. Would they be able to assess that quickly enough and to act accordingly? So I think that's a fear of mine, and it's a fear of probably everybody watching this video as well at some point. You know, your child might be 4 now, but they're going to be 14 someday, and then it probably will be a concern unless we do something about it, you know, unless we really start having a conversation about this, making sure that, again, we just have to make sure that we're equipping our officers, you know, with training. And it's not just watching a video, it's training, it's retraining, you know, every year to really make them proficient in how to, you know, identify something like this. And also, you know, we've also got to help these parents out, like help a mom out like this whose child is having a meltdown, you know, or just having a struggle, and she needs help. She needs somebody to come and help her out and support her. And we need to make sure that parents have options as well. And so I think that breaks my heart that this was her only option. She thought she was doing the best thing, and it didn't work out so well for her. It's really important that, you know, as having a child with a disability, that we all create networks around ourselves. And it's really hard now because, you know, a lot of, like, I live in Indiana. I have no family in Indiana. It's my son and it's my husband. It's just us. But I have friends. I have neighbors that I could call on, that I could count on to come and help me. And I think that's really important that, you know, families and parents of people with, you know, disabilities, that they are always thinking about, like, who can I add into my network? Like, I have a friend and she has a child with autism. Whenever they go out of town and they leave their child home with a babysitter, you know, I'm listed as an emergency contact, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not family, but I will be that family's emergency contact if something were ever to go sideways when they were out of town. So I think, as, you know, families, we have to, and parents, we have to really start thinking about, okay, like, who can I pull into my network? It might not be a family member, it might just be a friend or a coworker or somebody I trust, maybe some professionals, but I think we always have to think about building our network of people that we can call on in an emergency to come and support us as well. So just in looking at all this, I guess my hope is that we can learn from this and really see where the loopholes are. And a lot of times you don't know that there's a loophole until you fall into it. Well, we really fell into this hole quite badly. So I think this is just an opportunity for us to learn, you know, what we can do to support our first responders, get them the training, what we can do to support families and parents so they have a safety net to call, and just, what we can do as the group, the tribe of autism parents, what we need to be talking about with our legislators in our, cities and states, and even at the federal level, of what kind of training and dollars and time just has to be committed to this, because this is a tragedy. It didn't need to happen, and we certainly do not ever want this to happen again. So I am hoping something like this never happens again. I hope that we have learned from it. I hope we all know that to make sure something like this doesn't happen again, it's going to take all of us, that we are all as parents going to have to reach out and show that we're concerned about this. Something needs to be done about it. We can't just wait for somebody else to fix it. We're going to have to go in and say, hey, this needs to be fixed. We need more training. We need more support. We're going to need some time, some dollars, and some support from people in our state capitals and the nation capital. So I think that it's time to band together once again and make a positive change for our children, because we've got to keep them safe. And there's a lot of children that are coming up through the pipeline. And I know that those police officers did not want anything like this to happen. I think we owe it to the first responders to give them the tools that they need to be successful and to help us in these situations. So thank you so much for spending some time with me and talking about this very tragic, uncomfortable topic, but we got to talk about it. We've got to do something about it. And together, autism parents, we have moved mountains, and we can make a change in this one as well. Thanks so much, and take care, and I'll see you on the next video.